Apart from this, the battery management system. This is the computer which controls everything, and that'll be the reason why this doesn't start. Not one person can actually talk to these battery control modules.
Most of us have been told at some point that something was not meant for people like us, and we quietly accepted it. Matt Armstrong, a mechanic from a small town in England, refused, and he took on Bugatti so boldly that its own boss personally responded to him on camera.
So it left us with no other option. If we want to take this car, we've got to finish the build. But in doing so, we did something which caused to completely put this rebuild to a halt.
What happened next pulled some of the most powerful people in the world into his orbit, including the name Elon Musk. And the story is only getting stranger. The man at the top finally spoke. For most of us, the bosses of billion-dollar companies live on another planet, and they will never once look in our direction, no matter how loud we shout. So, when the man who runs one of the most exclusive car empires on Earth suddenly picked up his phone and recorded a message about a self-taught mechanic from England, the whole automotive world stopped scrolling and paid attention. That mechanic is Matt Armstrong, and back in October of 2025, he took on a car that was never meant to be touched by ordinary hands. It was a crashed Bugatti Chiron Pure Sport, one of only around 60 ever built, a machine worth close to $6 million when it left the factory. An American creator had wrecked it during a stunt. The insurance repair estimate had climbed to a staggering $1.7 million, and the car had been written off and dumped into a salvage auction like scrap metal. Matt looked at that ruined hypercar and saw a challenge instead of a graveyard. What he did not expect was for mate Rimac himself, the boss of Bugatti, to break his silence and respond directly. Rimac went on camera and admitted in his own words that he holds Matt in high regard and genuinely enjoys watching his videos, which is not something the head of Bugatti says about a random YouTuber every day. Then came the twist that softened millions of hearts and hardened just as many. Rimac gently corrected the internet, explaining that a Chiron headlight costs around $25,000 rather than the wild $150,000 figure everyone kept repeating. He warned that the damage ran deep into the structure of the car, and he said something that landed like a closed door. He said the company simply did not believe the rebuild was safe, and that he would love to support it, but that it was not the right thing to do. The message sounded kind and respectful on the surface. Underneath those careful words, though, a wall had already been built around that car, and it was designed to stop Matt before he ever turned a single bolt. The wall they built around one car. This is the part that most people never realize about the supercar world, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. These companies do not just sell you a car and walk away. They keep a grip on that machine for the rest of its life. And if they decide you are not worthy of it, they can quietly choke you out. The moment Matt took ownership of that Chiron, Bugatti locked the car's identification number. In plain English, that meant no dealership anywhere on the planet was allowed to sell him a single official part. Every radiator, every sensor, every tiny clip that this car needed was suddenly placed behind a locked gate, and the only key belonged to the factory in France. The message was clear and cold, and it told him to bring the car to their workshop or leave it dead forever. Most people would have quietly given up right there. And honestly, nobody would have blamed them. Matt did the opposite, and this is exactly the moment his story stopped being about cars and started being about something far bigger. He refused to bow. He and his team set out to build the impossible from scratch. When the correct airbags were unavailable, he adapted a set from an Audi A3 to fit the Chiron. A skilled fabricator, known simply as Bob, then dedicated around 60 hours to handcrafting a new front crash bar from raw metal. Unable to source a coolant pipe, Matt improvised one using a simple brake hose. Later, with his signature dry Leicester humor, he joked that some Bugatti parts could actually be found in a Volkswagen Passat, and he even kept a few in his desk drawer. If you have ever been told that something is not for people like you, that you are not the right kind of person to even try, then you already understand the fire that was burning in this man. He was not just fixing a car anymore, he was proving that the gates these giants build are not as solid as they want you to believe. Every locked door only sharpened his focus, and slowly, weld by weld, the wreck that Bugatti had walked away from began to look like a car again. What happened when he finally reached for the ignition turned a written-off disaster into a moment the entire industry could no longer pretend to ignore. The moment it roared back to life. There is a very specific kind of silence that fills a room right before something either works or falls apart completely, and everyone in that workshop knew this was that moment. Months of labor, tens of thousands in improvised parts, and the loud doubt of one of the most famous car companies in history all came down to a single turn of a key. The engine caught. The Chiron that Bugatti had declared finished, the machine the experts had buried in a salvage yard, came back to life and rolled forward under its own power for a first careful test drive. For a man working outside the official system, with the factory doors slammed in his face, this was not just a repair. This was a statement written in fuel and metal. The internet reacted the way you would expect, which is to say it lost its collective mind. His video documenting the fight and the response drew around 6.8 million views in only 4 days, and the comments filled up with people who felt like they had just watched an ordinary person beat a system that was never built for them to win. You could feel the emotion in it, because deep down most of us are quietly rooting for the underdog who refuses to be told no. Then, something even more telling happened. Bugatti reportedly began to soften its stance. The blacklist that had locked him out was said to have been eased, and the eye-watering repair estimate that once sat at $1.7 million was reportedly cut down to somewhere near $600,000 or $700,000. The very company that had drawn a line in the sand appeared to quietly step back over it. I want you to notice how strange that shift really is, because Matt noticed it too. He has openly said that he suspects there was someone else behind those corporate words, and that the tone changed in a way that felt almost too clean. One week, the man at the top calls you talented and kind, and the next, the whole machine is treating you like a threat, and then it eases off again. That is not how companies usually behave toward a nobody. The truth is that Matt was no longer a nobody, and the real cars and the real boardroom drama were only one half of what was unfolding. Somewhere out in the darker corners of the internet, his name had already started living a second life that he had never agreed to and could not control. The videos that were never real. Now we arrive at the part of this story that will genuinely unsettle you, and it is the reason so many of you clicked on this video in the first place. Because if you have spent any time online lately, you have almost certainly seen the news. Not a single one of those events ever happened. Those videos are churned out by faceless channels that stitch together artificial voices and recycled footage, and they attach the most famous man alive to Matt's name purely because it prints clicks like money. This is not a small or random thing either. Researchers who study this kind of fakery have found that Elon Musk is by far the most abused face in these artificial scam videos, appearing in a huge share of them because his name carries instant belief. When people see Elon Musk in a thumbnail, they assume something enormous must be true, and the fakers know exactly how to weaponize that trust against you. And I need to be honest with you here, because I respect your intelligence too much to pretend otherwise. The shocking thing was never that these two men met, because they never did. The shocking thing is that a self-taught mechanic from Leicester has become so massive, so culturally loud, that content farms now bolt his name onto the richest human on the planet just to steal a few seconds of your attention. That is a level of fame most celebrities never reach. Your name only becomes bait when you have become a giant. If you have ever felt that creeping doubt while watching a video, that quiet voice asking whether any of this is actually real, then hold on to that voice, because it is protecting you. The line between what is true and what is manufactured is getting thinner every single week, and even the people who run these platforms are openly admitting they are struggling to keep up. Strip away all of the fakes, though, and something even stranger is left standing in the middle of the wreckage. Because there is a very real reason the world's most powerful founders keep drifting into this man's orbit, and it has nothing to do with a staged handshake. Why the giants keep circling him. You would think that a billionaire who runs a hypercar empire would have absolutely no reason to care about a man rebuilding crashed cars in a workshop, and yet they keep circling back to him. To understand why, you have to understand what Matt actually represents to millions of people, because that is the thing money cannot manufacture. Matt Etide once described his strange relationship with Bugatti in a way that stuck with me. He compared it to the endless rivalry between Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, two forces who are somehow bound together by the same obsession. He said that both he and the company love these incredible machines, but that the real story only catches fire when the corporate world gets tangled up in it. That is the heart of it. The public does not just watch a car get fixed, they watch one ordinary person stand toe-to-toe with an empire. The giants notice him because he holds something they desperately want and cannot buy, and that thing is raw trust. When Matt speaks, nearly 7 million subscribers on his main channel believe him, and across everything he has built, he sits on close to 1.5 billion views. He did not inherit that. He earned it by showing the failures as well as the wins, by letting you see the grease and the frustration and the moments where things went wrong. There is also a quiet honesty in the way he operates that people find magnetic. He has openly explained that the only reason he can afford these dream cars in the first place is precisely because they are broken, and that he would genuinely rather live with the peace of mind of having built the thing himself than buy a flawless one straight off a showroom floor. That philosophy flips the entire luxury world on its head, and it makes the untouchable feel reachable. So when the boss of Bugatti reportedly offered to support a proper factory repair, it seemed on paper like the perfect happy ending. Matt turned it down. He chose the harder road, the independent road, the one where he answers to no one and builds it his own way. That single refusal earned him a deep and grudging respect from people who are used to being obeyed. Respect like that always comes with a price, though, and the higher he climbed up this mountain, the more he had to lose to forces that had nothing at all to do with Bugatti. The cost of being watched. We love to talk about fame as if it is only sunshine, but the people living inside it know a different reality, and Matt has learned some of those lessons the hard way. The bigger your name becomes, the bigger the target painted across your back, and the more the mistakes start to cost. He bought what looked like a straightforward project car, a powerful BMW M3, from a salvage auction for around $30,000. It seemed like business as usual until one of his own eagle-eyed viewers spotted something disturbing in the footage. That car, it turned out, had been reported stolen back in the year 2023. The police came looking to seize it, and Matt found himself tangled in a mess he never created, having done nothing wrong except trust the paperwork in front of him. Then there was the Lamborghini that a famous internet personality had deliberately destroyed with layers of duct tape for a stunt. Matt paid roughly $90,000 for that wrecked Italian machine and then had to sit with a brutal decision in front of his entire audience, weighing whether to pour money into saving it or to swallow a loss of around $20,000 and walk away. These are not small gambles. These are life-changing sums riding on every single choice, and he makes them in public, where the whole world is keeping score. This is the part of his life that the highlight reels never show you. Every time he wins, the pressure to win again grows heavier. Every powerful person now watching him raises the stakes of getting it wrong. If you have ever felt that strange loneliness of being watched by people who are quietly waiting for you to slip, then you understand the weight this man carries under all the excitement. He is fighting manufacturers who want to gatekeep their parts. He is dodging legal traps hidden inside old car histories. He is carrying the expectations of millions who see themselves in his story. And through all of it, he keeps his cameras rolling and his humor intact, which takes a kind of nerve most of us will never be tested for. The police and the lawsuits, as frightening as they are, were at least threats he could see coming and prepare for. The danger that would truly come to define his future was something far quieter, something no camera could ever catch, and no mechanic could ever weld shut. Where this road is really going. The most dangerous force in Matt Armstrong's world right now is not a car company and not a courtroom. It is the slow blurring of what is real, and it is spreading faster than anyone expected. His name is now floating across the internet, attached to events that never took place, spoken in a voice that is not his, wrapped around a face like Elon Musk's simply to harvest belief from strangers. Even the people who run the biggest video platform on Earth have admitted that this is now one of their greatest fears. The head of YouTube openly named this flood of artificial content as one of his top concerns for this year, warning that it is becoming harder and harder to tell what is genuine from what a machine has invented, and that fakes built to imitate real people are the sharpest edge of the whole problem. When the platform itself sounds the alarm, you know something serious is shifting under our feet. And yet, here is where I find something almost hopeful, buried inside the chaos. The reason the fakers reach for Matt's name at all is that the real story is already extraordinary. You do not need to invent a meeting between him and the richest man alive, because what he has genuinely done is arguably more inspiring than any staged handshake could ever be. He took wrecks that experts abandoned and gave them life. He stared down an empire that told him he was not allowed, and he built his own path anyway. What a true meeting between these two worlds would really represent is a collision between old power and new power. On one side, you have the founders and the factories who have always controlled who gets to touch greatness. On the other, you have a man with a camera, a set of tools, and the raw trust of millions, quietly proving that the gates are not as locked as they seem. Matt once said that he would always rather have the peace of mind of building something with his own hands than owning something flawless he never understood. And I think that single sentence explains everything about why the powerful cannot look away from him. He is a living reminder that skill and honesty still matter, and that no company, no algorithm, and no fake video can fully own a story that a real person is still writing with their own two hands. The giants will keep circling, the fakes will keep spreading, and this ordinary man from Leicester will keep doing the one thing none of them expected, which is refusing to be told where his ceiling is. Do you think these tech giants and car empires respect Matt? Or do they quietly fear what he represents? And would you trust a hypercar he rebuilt with his own hands? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments below and let us talk it out together.